You think it was a simple statement of truth. If you're paid to lobby, you're a lobbyist. But for some reason we have laws in this country that say night is day, black is white, east is west, and people whose job it is to lobby aren't lobbyists. We have laws that say that you're only a lobbyist if you're a third-party lobbyist. If Google hires your firm, you're a lobbyist. If Google hires you, you're not. If the Minerals Council of Australia hires your firm, you're a lobbyist. If the Minerals Council hires you, apparently you are not. If Coles or Woolworths or Westpac or Wesfarmers hires your firm, then you are a paid lobbyist. If they hire you to lobby and they pay you to lobby and they expect you to lobby every day from here until the end of the world, then under the law, you are not a lobbyist. Under the law, you're not anything. As far as the laws around lobbying go, you're not a lobbyist, so there aren't any. There's supposed to be a cooling-off period preventing ministers from becoming lobbyists within 18 months of losing their ministerial responsibilities. But because we define lobbyists so narrowly and because the cooling-off period we have doesn't have any legal enforceability, we get no protections from improper influence at all. Any minister in the Turnbull government could resign their post today and sign a contract with any company they like tomorrow. They'd go from minister to corporate lobbyist in a heartbeat and they'd be absolutely untouchable. Their colleagues today would become their business opportunities for tomorrow, all within the rules and all within the law. So what a surprise it is then that the Secretary of the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet would find nothing wrong with what happened with Bruce Bilson. Of course he was within the law. The law is absolutely ridiculous if you call it a law. Let's remember what actually happened here. Bruce Bilson was a minister, then he was a backbencher, then he was the Executive Chairman of the Franchise Council of Australia. Except it's a bit messier than that. There's a bit more of an overlap than that. Because Bruce Bilson was a Member of Parliament at the same time as he was Executive Chairman of the Franchise Council of Australia. And what's the Franchise Council of Australia? It's the organisation that sets up to lobby on behalf of its members. We don't call it a lobbying organisation, of course. It lobbies, but it's not a lobbying firm. It's set up exclusively to lobby, but doesn't matter with the laws that we have. So we've got a former minister who was responsible for the franchising code of conduct as a minister who becomes within 18 months the head of an industry group designed to lobby the government of which he was still a member. So he apologises and said it was a discourtesy to Parliament. That's very big of him. I say that's not good enough. I say it shouldn't have happened in the first place and I ask where his integrity was. Why would he have two jobs at the same time if he couldn't do both at the same time? And if he was doing both at the same time, he had a clear conflict of interest and shouldn't be allowed to continue to do that. The public says you serve to the public interest. Special interest groups pay you to serve their special interests. You can't do both. There's no two ways about this, you just can't do both. Except because we have laws that don't work and protections that don't protect and safeguards that don't guard anything, you can do whatever the hell you want. The laws are broken and we should change them. That's what I plan to do. Tonight I've released the Jaqui Lambie Network's plan to clean up Canberra. It starts with reform to the lobbying code of conduct. When the Rudd government introduced the code in 2008, it was an attempt to regulate the way lobbyists work in Canberra. It didn't work for a lot of reasons. It wasn't independent, it was full of loopholes and it couldn't be legally enforced. Now's the time to take another look at the lobbying code of conduct and actually fix it. Here's how. We expand it, we legislate it, and then we enforce it. We expand it by harmonising the Parliament House sponsored past definition of a lobbyist with the code's definition of lobbyist. We expand it by strengthening the Code of Conduct's post-separation employment restrictions for former ministers. And we extend the post-separation employment restriction for former ministers from 18 months to 5 years to line up with Canada, the European Union and the United States. We legislate the lobbying code of conduct by turning it from a toothless feel-good instrument into a mandatory industry code governing everybody who lobbies federal government representatives, businesses, unions, NGOs and industry groups. Everyone who lobbies will be called for what they are, a lobbyist. We give the ACCC the power to police the mandatory industry code, and we make all of their decisions reviewable by the Administrative Appeals Tribunal. Then we enforce it by establishing a Parliamentary Integrity Commissioner. That's an important independent statutory body that administers the register and reports to the Parliament. We give the Commissioner the power to enforce the statement of ministerial standards and provide advice to the government. Finally, we expand the Parliament House Visitor Pass Register to include a field for whom a visitor is visiting on behalf of and allow access under Freedom of Information law. This is a short summary of a long process. This reform package is the product of an extensive consultation across all sides of the political divide. It's taken a huge amount of time and energy, and what it proposes is the biggest shake-up of lobbying reform in a decade. They say sunlight is the best disinfectant. My plan breaks every window and kicks down every door, and what it does is shed more light on lobbying than at any other time in Australia's parliamentary history. People elect independents into the Parliament to hold the parties to account. This policy is a demonstration of what independents can do to make good on that promise. Bruce Bilson didn't do the right thing, but he'll get away with it. He shouldn't, but he will. And so will the next person to make the jump through the revolving door of political influence. And so will the person after that and the person after that. And we'll just keep shaking our heads and saying something should really happen and looking to our major parties to lead the way. And we'll wonder why nothing has changed and why this keeps happening and why major parties aren't leading the way in this field. Under my plan, we don't have to wait for them to lead. The ball is already rolling. You elected a Senate full of independents, and because of you, this is going to happen.